right, Paulie, say you're 9 years old and you can learn anything you want to know about your future. Would you want to know?
Hey, little Danny, you want to see something super neato?
If it's another homeless man over by Mason Creek, my mother says I'm not supposed to go over there or else my father will give me a clobbering.
No, it's even better. It's for my sister's play. Gives me magical powers. Helps me tell the future. You're gonna marry Jenny Batchy.
Oh, gee whiz, Lair, quick give me the business.
And when you grow up, you're gonna be tall, taller than your dad, and you're gonna play sports just like Wooly. And then you're gonna be talking on television in front of millions of people, and then ESPN, Football Night in America, David Spade.
Wait a second, Larry. So you mean to tell me that I get to go drive a truck to work every single day?
Gee willikers, haven't you heard nothing I've been saying about television? You're gonna be more important than Zorro.
And you mean to tell me that I get to have an accordion?
Wow, you're super swell at that. You should probably work at an accordion store when you grow up.
Hey, you know what we should go do? Let's go put frogs in Jenny Batchy's desk.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer. My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Collins for box score.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles. They are the Danettes in Milford, Connecticut. Let the overreactors from week 2 come on down. There's a couple people staring down the 0-2 record, and people have written off their teams already. McLovin, when is it worse? Is it in September, or is it with the off-season trades?
Wow, the overreaction you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Well, in August...
Free agency, there's a lot of reaction.
There's a lot of reaction. People love talking NFL in the offseason. I have a theory that it's not popular in this man cave, that sports are actually more interesting in the offseason than they are during the season.
There's no doubt about it.
Baseball free agency is the best thing that can happen in baseball.
Right.
The baseball season goes on for about 3.5 years per year.
Because remember, all offseason talk about sports is in theory, and
Yes.
your team is undefeated.
Yes.
So if you're a fan of whatever team right now is 0-2, your team is somewhat irrelevant.
Like, there's a fair amount of overreaction to the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people.
It's like a hysterical overreaction. Yeah. And
Like, we don't talk that much about the games themselves and the action in the games. Like, Sunday's games, what plays did we talk about?
Yeah.
Was there a play that we brought up?
But does that hype and
special
overreaction match like what people are doing now after 2 games when you have something tangible?
Not at all.
Someone's 2-0 or 0-2.
Well, Seton brings up the draft, like all the names, everybody in April, this guy's a future Pro Bowler, this guy's a future Pro Bowler. Then you watch like week 2, it's like, well, they got to cover up for this rookie, whoever.
Right,
because he stinks.
exactly.
Or it's like, what a great play by the Colts to get this young receiver out of Miami. He's going to be an instant impact guy. Philip Dorsett had 1 catch yesterday on Monday Night Football. He caught the ball once. What's his impact?
Nothing. Well, one team that people are overreacting to are the Atlanta Falcons, and you guys had their QB on, Matt Ryan. He told Dan what he thinks about all this overreaction.
Having played for as long as I've played now, I understand that, it's a long stretch, the regular season, and each game counts one. It's kind of a simple thing, but each game counts one, whether they're in September or December. And so, there's obviously a lot to be made of, teams coming out of the preseason and what that means, which is basically nothing. And then, teams that start hot or finish strong. There's just a lot that's made of early season success or lack thereof. But it's a long haul, and you got to keep your head down and keep going.
I might use them for the magazine.
Heading into the season, the Colts were like the real hot topic of this is the year that they have to turn the corner. And I feel like the Falcons are that team too, right?
Well, first-year coach.
Yeah, but they've always been that team on the cusp of like, oh, this is it. This is the year they're
13-3 again.
But Atlanta always stays slightly under the radar.
Do people still believe in that team?
No.
I mean,
it's like the Chargers. That's the Chargers 5 years ago.
But you got to remember, there is and anyone who's lived in Atlanta for any period of time knows that they do not care about the Falcons. Like, their deep empathy towards that. And I'm telling you,
do they even jump on the bandwagon and play?
They will, but that is a college football town times 100.
But it's a football state, and when that team is playing well, they're pretty hyped up. Though it doesn't compare to a Georgia regular season game.
No.
Like a Falcons playoff game compared to any Georgia regular season game.
Yeah, I was down at CNN where Dan was, and I tell you, the Braves and the Falcons didn't mean a thing compared to college football. The Braves, when they were good for a brief time, that was it.
Did you notice something in that video?
I noticed something in the video. That was, I think, Fritzy caught on camera face. Like you looked up and noticed you were on the monitor, and then you started putting away yourself, and you're like, I better look up a couple of times, give a couple faux looks.
But how did he get caught with that camera? Did it move? I don't remember.
Oh no, maybe it might be one of the.
Oh, you
No,
saw
he
it.
checked the monitor and saw that he was on camera.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, hey.
That happens to me all the time. What do you guys do if you notice you're on the monitor? Like, say you're like.
I try to stop scratching myself. Like if I notice the camera is on Seton, I'll get a couple good scratches in and adjust some stuff. But if I feel like I'm not on camera, I'll take my finger out of the air if I think it's coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
I always do an ear check.
And there, of
See,
course,
Fritzy,
is
at any
Fritzy
second you're
going to
gonna
come
notice.
back to it.
Notice. A
There it
couple
is.
extra looks.
I'm frowning.
Look at Dan.
I don't know if he
I think
noticed.
he's pretty unaware that we're even on national television at that point.
You don't think he knows
He
he's on
could have
TV?
been in
Is
Houston.
he putting a
landing.
rubber band around an old book? What was that?
I have to keep a rubber band.
I don't like when the pages
turn.
turn while I'm trying to write on
It's
them.
coming.
Any
it's
other
coming
time,
apart.
I guess you could.
Yeah, but it's
Pick
like
that moment in the middle.
you
of
don't want to keep
Ryan
that
interview.
stuff digitally. You definitely want to keep that in hard copy.
He almost got all of us to watch and listen.
All right, well, Paulie, prepare yourself because you're about ready to be on the camera for this question. Do writers tend to overreact more in college or for the NFL?
Probably NFL. And one thing Dan did mention was that the headline isn't written by the writer. And McLovin, you've dealt with this a lot. When you write an article for a magazine, website, everything, you turn in your article to the copy desk. And I'm guessing most writers never see their headline before it goes to print. And what if it says, Bama dynasty over, da-da-da? I mean, is that the tone of his piece? It better be, because that's what the headline says.
Did you ever get really upset where it didn't accurately portray the actual content of your article, what they decided to go?
Every edit that's done on your article is terrible and screws up the meaning, and every headline is awful.
I'm the biggest, pardon my language, prick when it comes to writing. I'm not I don't write like I used to, but when someone would edit the stuff, I would be like, I would kind of have a little bit of a fit, because you think sometimes when you're writing you're infallible, and why would you change what I want to say? I had a situation.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I had a situation a couple years ago where I got to write a piece for an outlet, and they completely changed everything I wrote. I was like, you know what, dude, just take my name off it and put your name.
Well,
on
why'd you ask me in the first place to write if you're not going to trust me?
Yeah.
I was an editor for years on the other side, and the worst thing you could do is insert a mistake into somebody's column, and you're crazy. Every editor's done it. It's one thing to sort of take away their meaning. It's another to absolutely screw up their meaning. It's another thing to do it to Peter King on a consistent basis. Because I used to be Peter's editor. That was a nightmare.
Did you ever feel like you stormed into the editor's office saying, "Why did you do this?" or "Why did you change that?"
No,
Did you ever get that bad?
I mean, I was.
Well, you've been both an editor and a writer.
Yeah, I would probably spend
So you
more time at
appreciate
SI being
both
an editor. I appreciate both sides, and usually the editors are pretty good. So but no, I'm telling you, I've screwed up Peter's article, and he was not.
Not a good thing to mess with Mr. King there. Well, many thought Pat Forty of Yahoo Sports was a little overreactionary on his article regarding Alabama's loss to Ole Miss, and when they saw the headline on that column. But he told Dan, relax, the writing's been on the wall for quite a while.
This kind of follows the pattern of their last several losses. They all have been somewhat similar. The great Nick Saban defenses have been gouged. They've given up a ton of points. You have a ton of big plays. Their secondary hasn't been very good. Their quarterback play has not been as good as the other teams, the teams that have beaten them. They've had, they have the best recruiting classes every year. Why don't they have the best quarterback? That's always mystified me. Special teams, kicker. They haven't had a good kicker in years. And I just, you wonder, you put those things together, turnovers. They're committing more turnovers. They're getting fewer turnovers if the cracks are starting to show.
That was interesting to me because he's basically saying that, before you get too dramatic, this didn't all just happen yesterday. And I didn't all of a sudden write this piece because they're struggling out of the gate this year. Their championship years, at least like that so-called dynasty from like 2009 to 2012, it's been a couple of years where Alabama wasn't quite as the Crimson Tide dominant team that we thought. This has been going on. Crimson Slide. But he made points in his column about how they're having trouble, they can't figure out who to play quarterback. They've got issues at kicker and the defense specifically in the secondary. So he went into details about this didn't just happen overnight for the last couple of years. How could a Nick Saban team and Alabama not be able to get anyone they want and figure out who are the best players to get, that they're somehow getting beat out in recruiting in recent years? I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Fascinating indeed. All right, coming up, there is a brand new show on the horizon. It is going to be taking the world by storm, just like the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel. Every truck can climb a hill, haul a trailer, and tow a boat, but not everybody has the most fuel-efficient truck on the planet. That's right. Get more facts at ramtrucks.com. Guts, glory, Ram. We are back here on the box score. You may live in Colorado and say, yes, the Aspens and the Rockies. You may be in Massachusetts in the Berkshires and say, this is beautiful. Or you may be up in Vermont. Well, there's only one way to settle all this. Let the Foliage Wars begin.
I want to pitch a TV show called Foliage Wars.
Foliage Wars?
Yeah. Paul's going to host it.
I'm interested. Foliage Wars.
Foliage Wars. It's going to be huge on Discovery.
Right. Vermont versus New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's going to be like state by state.
Does Connecticut get some real legit foliage?
So if you had a foliage bowl,
The Foliage Bowl.
and you just had,
Vermont is like Alabama historically.
well, are they?
But then Maine is a little bit longer of a drive.
Rhodey's really
but-
making a run at it this year, though.
Yeah, Rhode Island and coastal. You got the coast as well.
Ooh, Rhode Island sounds lovely.
Foliage Wars.
I've never been so excited about an idea in my life. I hope that if this game comes to fruition and Seton picks me as a host, I think I'm an obvious, proven candidate. I know the topic. It's not like putting someone who doesn't know NASCAR covering NASCAR. I live for foliage. My favorite 8 weeks of the year are September 15th, or 9 weeks, I'd say, until Thanksgiving. I wish it could just repeat over and over and over. I love foliage. I like things pumpkin. I like corn that with the different colors that you pick out. I like apple pie. I like weather where you can wear a t-shirt or a sweater, whatever you choose to do.
Apple fritters,
I would
a little warm apple cider.
I don't know where the wars come in, though, because foliage is generally a pleasant, enjoyable experience. But
See, that's why I like the juxtaposition
Yeah.
of something that's so peaceful and serene as for the foliage of New England with wars. Like somehow it's a competition of which is impossible.
like red, yellow, brown, MFer, you know, like just boom, put it down.
Like somehow, like some like
stone
maple
unturned.
tree guys getting the syrup out or something. They're gonna be like at each other or something.
What do you feel about the term leaf peeper? Is that
Leaf peeper. That sounds like
That
something.
sounds like Todd.
That sounds like something.
It does sound like where you're looking at through some window or
That's
something.
like stalking autumnal pastures.
Yeah, I feel like I got some kind of telescope.
Well, I think the leaf wars could be interesting because let's say you were sitting. Let's say I as a judge, we're sitting right on the border of Vermont and New Hampshire, Vermont, and then the people on the other side,
Oh my
and they're
God! You get
presenting.
all the townspeople.
You're right.
come
So you're in
down.
a valley, and there's all these people with their pickup trucks.
If you're going to do a 64 bracket style, like it would be Vermont, New Hampshire were both 1 seeds. Who are some other seeds? You said Rhode
Well,
Island.
seeds.
You can't leave out Midwest places like northern Wisconsin, Door County, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Don't leave out the Midwest.
Okay.
Don't sleep on them. It's much more rolling hills out here. But you could go, I'm sure, to the Pacific Northwest and see foliage, I would assume.
Can you?
I don't know.
Washington, like,
I'm not sure the weather there that they turn like that.
Well, I saw foliage in Kentucky once.
Well,
and it was-
we need to show.
Okay, yeah, like so you're gonna go Appalachian.
The Appalachian
that all
Trail.
still works. That all still works. But yeah, out west.
But every time you see like a leaf calendar, you always see Vermont, New Hampshire.
Right.
Again, those are
Those
like
steeples
those are like the
coming out
original
of the
six.
trees.
Yeah,
You're like,
covered bridges.
look at
New
this.
Those are like the original 6 in hockey.
Ball game.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like the
Ball
original
game.
6. But yeah, like I actually, the place I live in Vermont, there is a covered bridge within about 2 miles, and it's always people standing outside taking pictures of it about to get hit by cars because it's an active bridge. So people run in the middle and they're taking pictures, and there's guys in trucks, locals, like.
Maybe that could be an
Got it.
elimination challenge in Foliage Wars.
Yeah, best picture.
Right. Well, best
Without
picture,
getting
but
run
also without running someone over, or whilst running someone over,
Foliage.
or not getting run over yourself while.
Death Race 2015 Foliage Wars.
Yes, and they use that foliage to decorate all the crosses around the bridge. Seton, you are Mr. Greenlit project right now. You've got a project for Paulie. What would you do for McLovin to give him a show?
Oh boy. Well, Steak Night in America, we're going with Al Michaels, although
That's a good call.
I don't know that.
I think
How
that.
about Wonderlicht? You prep new
That's
quarterbacks
fancy.
coming into the league on how to ace the Wonderlicht test.
That's pretty good.
Wonderlicht.
Yeah, that title is a little bit.
It's gonna get people though.
You know, it's a little. Yeah, it's gonna get people.
But I was
Yeah, we
like-
could also
They're
just,
gonna-
we could do
gentlemen,
both of these
this is-
guys could be Wonderlicht.
Yeah.
It's- yeah.
No, I
I
would want to have Blunderlicht, where you could have like adult entertainment, like mess ups, like bloopers, and that would be called
Oh,
Blunderlicht.
a porn blooper show hosted
How
by
great
Fritzy.
would that be?
Green like that.
Blunderlicht, it's like and things are slipping out that shouldn't be. Things are all that there's a lot
Oh,
there.
that'd be gold for you and your brand.
How funny would that be? Bloops, bleeps, practical jokes, and blunders, all adult entertainment related.
Yeah,
That would be
fun.
Awesome,
fantastic.
Fritzy.
Project Greenlight to Project Blacklight. All right, stay with us. We will recap a hotly contested week 2 at DanDuel Challenge. We are back here on the box score. Guys, we are through 2 weeks of the NFL season, which means we have 2 weeks of the DanDuel Challenge complete. Now, week 1, we were unable to get our hands on Dan's lineup, but the second week we were, and here's where Dan landed, somewhere down towards the 1,000 mark. He was 842nd place in the worst in the man cave with only 83 points. McLovin, you had a lineup that looks similar to Dan's. Are you going to do the opposite of the boss's picks in week 3?
Oh, it's funny. We really were about the same lineup. Dan, to be fair, didn't really have a week 1 to learn the system.
But you know what? When I look at Dan's lineup, I think he's had great picks. Look at the guys he picks. I would. You got to critique it before.
Any one of those could have had monster days.
I know.
Any one of those
I
playoffs.
know. It's such a coin toss, right?
That's how I felt about my lineup. I thought, all right, I'm guaranteed to have a bunch of awesome games, and none of them.
Well, Carlos Hyde disappointed for me. Did anyone else have Carlos Hyde? No, he just was ineffective. Yeah, it was crazy.
He was.
Deion Lewis did a lot better than I thought, but then they got destroyed by the Colts.
Yeah, I know.
There's 3 Colts.
Yeah, it's like you can't get a consistently good
Something I
lineup.
could have had either a huge number or got crushed.
All right, well, speaking of consistency, Paulie, you were consistently the worst Danette. They have 1,000 people, so you fell from 496. You went a little bit deeper in the pool at 657th place with just under 95 points. Oh, geez. So did
Brock, that is pejorative. I improved a lot this week. Remember, last week was out of 500. I finished 4th from last. This week, I finished in the top 2/3, which means I had a dramatic improvement.
Yeah. Comeback player of the week.
I'm proud of myself.
If you want to bet on someone for next week, the way the trends are going.
Boom. Same with Seton. Seton went this way, not this way.
Well, Seton went too high. Now he's going to
correction.
Huge correction like me.
Well, yeah, let's stay with pejorative. McLovin, you slid down a little bit. You were in first, but you were down in the 613th range. What changes? You said you wanted to make some changes to your lineup. What were they, and would they have helped you?
Well, Jeremy Hill, about 1 play in, bent his knee back, then he got back in the game and fumbled. And I knew, by the way, that Kendall Wright on the Titans, that was I saw him catch 1 touchdown pass. Then later in the week, after I played like Friday, I read he only had 2 targets in the game. So you got to be careful the 1 touchdown guy. Now I know that.
Well, smooth and steady. Fritzy, you came in second place again, 429th with 104 fantasy points. Are you just going to continue what you are doing right now?
Pretty much. I'm a middle of the road guy, so that I guess makes sense that I would end up almost exactly in the center. I thought I was going to get something more out of Luck and Gore and Andre Johnson. Going into Monday Night Football, the fact that I still had 1/3 of my lineup, a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver still left, and they were playing a Jets team, which maybe I should have thought more highly of. I thought for sure among those 3 guys, at least 2 of those 3 would have got big numbers, and that would have boosted me up. But wasted a 21-point effort from Deion Lewis and a 24-point effort from Odell Beckham Jr., and it was just a disaster last night watching the Colts almost get shut out at home against the Jets.
Well, the man who sits atop of all this pile, one Patrick Seton O'Connor, with 107 points, you were the top. He finished 379th place. Now that you got at least 1 win under your belt, are you going to put things on cruise control for a few weeks, or are you going to try to keep the hot streak going?
Yeah, I feel kind of like Steph Curry, like he got the ring out of the way up front, and now he could just sit back the rest of the season or career and be like, oh, no, I'm good, man. I already won 1. I didn't totally embarrass myself. And really, I think I just did well this week because everybody did so poorly. I mean, I had a bunch of huge busts on my team. Guys like, Jason Witten never has any fewer than 5 touchdowns in a game, except for this week. So, like the Rams gave up a bunch of points to the Redskins. It was like I had a bunch of sure things that didn't perform for me, but somehow I squeaked out a win.
Well, congratulations to Seton. Check us out on Thursdays. We do a FanDuel draft day every Thursday right here on the Box Score. All right, stay with us. We are going to bid farewell to a couple guys just for a couple days. But first, this is the Box Score. We're taking a break to remind you that the Ram Heavy Duty with its best-in-class towing, torque, and horsepower doesn't need one. Guts, glory, Ram. We are closing up shop here on the Box Score. Tomorrow we will be airing a best of, so our friends in the back row, Fritzy and McLovin, can celebrate the high holy day, Yom Kippur, much like Sandy Koufax missing Game 1 of the 1965 World Series. Well, Dan asked SI's Tom Verducci how negativity towards such a move might play out in today's sports world.
In a world with social media? Are you kidding?
I know.
I think that's the thing. It gives an outlet to all these people who do have negative thoughts. And back 50 years ago, you kind of kept it to yourself. So, yeah, it will be much more public. Although I think in a lot of ways, we're also much more understanding and forgiving, too. I think about all the guys now who take paternity leave when the children are born. That never happened 50 years ago. And it is socially acceptable in the sports world now. So I think it would be more accepted, but there also the backlash at least would have amplification and be more public.
That's interesting. It's a good point that I think, there's more hype now. But it has happened recently. Sean Green was in 2000s. And actually, Dan said that he decided, he played games every year. He did sit out some big games. So I think, we didn't make a big deal of it then. Twitter would make a big deal.
Right, but I'm curious, in a good way or a bad way. Obviously, you'll get mixed things.
I don't think in a bad way.
You think it would be more positive or more negative with all the?
I think it'd be more positive. Although that Aaron Rodgers-Russell Wilson debate from earlier in the week was pretty interesting. There were people who said that was polarizing. So I don't know. But would you guys? I wouldn't have a problem.
I wouldn't.
For a regular season game, playoff. I know, but now I'm weighing the value of the game.
No, the grand test is, being, if you want to make it as dramatic as possible, a Game 7 of the World Series, and you're the.
But it shouldn't change, should it?
It shouldn't. But if it's Game 2 of a best of 7 series, or you're up 1-0 in a best of 5.
I like that the way that we've looked at this topic today of if you would take off for religion is. Was it like Game 7 of the World Series, or what if Adriana Lima was in studio? Those are sort of the comparisons right now that we've been using.
A lot of guys have been in Game 7.
Your Game 7 is Adriana Lima in
Very
studio.
Much. That was a very tough decision for me.
A lot of guys have been in Game 7. Not a lot of guys have been in. Hey, a side topic,
Lima.
Brock. No box score tomorrow. It seems a little anti-Gentile now. Seton and I both ready to go. And we're ready to roll. We're what's his name? Don Drysdale. We're ready to pitch.
I would think you guys are more than capable to get through a show.
Don Drysdale did lose that game, by the way.
I didn't say she and I would do a good job. Never said we would be entertaining, but we will be present.
You would be able to get through it.
Is this like a Hollywood thing? Like the TV crew, LA, they're all off too?
Interesting.
I'm ready to do a show. We're ready to do a show. Seton and I are ready to shoot, Jack.
Yeah, it's on record that you want to do the show tomorrow. We will test the waters. All right, Fritzy, who's on tomorrow?
We will talk to Arizona Cardinals quarterback.
Not we. They will talk.
They will talk to Arizona Cardinals quarterback Carson Palmer of the 2-0.
Technically, Seton and I probably won't actually talk to him at all.
Dan will actually handle the interviewing.
Present.
They will actually be in studio on the other side of the glass while Dan is interviewing Carson Palmer. It's a very good point. And that's what's cooking so far for the Wednesday Yom Kippur edition of the Dan Patrick Show.
All right, fantastic. Blow the chauffeur. Okay, we are back not tomorrow, but the next day right here on Audience, Channel 239 on Audience on DirecTV. Podcast is available on iTunes or at podcastone.com. Shalom, all that stuff.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer. My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the box score. Holy cow!